Hello, listeners of the Artversations podcast. Happy holidays, listeners! This is Artversations, a meditative conversation about the artistic process. I'm your host, Brie, like the cheese, and I'm checking in. Have you made time for rest today? For conversing with friends deeply? This is the final episode before the mystical year that will be 2023. It still doesn't feel like a real number to me. Anyways, before we head into the new year, though, I'll be releasing a best of 2022, where we'll take a look back at this year's episodes. So keep an ear out for that. Today, I've got a special guest for you listeners. Back on the pod and in between trips to Italy, it's Chantelle Good. Chantelle is an NYC-based performer, choreographer, and teaching artist. We get into her many roles in various creative spaces. She shares with me her values as an artistic human, and I'm so grateful to share them with you all. Our chat over Zoom felt extremely inspiring afterwards. So feel free to locate the comfiest couch in your surroundings. Join us. Here's an hour with Chantelle Good.
Go from there, but it's like a whole new adventure that I feel I'm about to embark upon.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you waited to tell me about this until now. Podcasts on.
We've begun.
Hi, Chantelle.
Hi, Brie.
How? I already asked you how your body's feeling. How's your mind feeling?
My mind in this moment, I mean, we are doing an evening recording, so it's very calm. It feels very at peace. The mind is resting at this moment.
Just no thoughts.
Yeah, which is honestly, I prefer it over being overwhelmed, so can't complain.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so great. Yay. Thank you for making time in your long day to do this little late night podcast. It's only 7 p.m. But
I mean, it's late. It's like the dinner hour. So
did you have dinner?
No, not yet. I'm a late dinner person, so it's okay.
Okay. Let me know if you need a snack.
Okay. I'm good right now.
Good. Me too. I'm so grateful that you can speak with me and we can reflect on, first of all, this year in general, coming to 2023 so quickly, but just checking in, because I feel like we've both kind of been working on different things and we see each other in passing. And so to have just an hour with you is super, feels like a treat.
Yeah, it feels sacred also, just being able to dedicate time to a conversation. I feel like it's rare. I mean, even now I feel like I'm spending time with friends just so I can dive in and have a deep conversation, because I crave that. And I feel like the check-ins are so nice and necessary. So I'm very happy to be here with you.
Yeah, that's so true. With friends, and not always seeing work friends, I think is super important for me right now. I'm trying to figure out ways that I when I do see someone who is also an artist, I'm not thinking about how I can work with them on something. I'm literally just meeting them.
Right.
Because there's always this underlying, I think for me at least in my process, this underlying thought that I need to network all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so toxic, first of all. That is not the way to do it.
It's natural though. It's so natural for us.
Right.
It's
it feels necessary. Yeah.
Which is just wild. I mean, we'll obviously go in and dive deep, but
yes,
I think that comes from our need to always be thinking about work and how we can, continue developing community, because it is so important. But yeah, sometimes we have to give ourselves this reminder of oh, wait, this person is a person before an artist. So let me see, instead of asking them what they're doing next or what they're working on, it's oh, how are you doing? How is your heart doing? That's the constant, something I'm trying to check myself on, because I receive that a lot. And I feel like that's, so that I naturally ask people that, but then I'm wait, there are more important questions than our work. Yeah.
Completely. I've been reading this book called Do Nothing
Mm.
by Celeste Headley. Have you read it?
No, I have not.
It's breaking down basically like the different work lifestyles over like the past 200 years.
Wow.
And like from the Industrial Revolution essentially until now. And like Celeste goes into like talking about why we feel the need to like always be thinking about work. And I'm only like halfway through, so I don't know how the conclusion will come to be, but this idea of like, when are we at rest? Like when can we be?
Exactly.
Simply that. Any thoughts?
It's so, I mean, I have so many thoughts.
No, we're zero thought right now. Right. No thoughts.
So many thoughts. I think, I mean, I definitely want to read this book also, but that is something that I also am working on and trying to research, is this balance between rest and work, and, how can my rest be just as productive? Because it's just, we're bred and made to believe, because of white supremacist capitalist systems, that our worth is connected to how much money we're making, and how much we're producing and generating. That's just the way it is. But as artists, it's hard when our work is also something we love, something creative, something that takes a lot of time and effort, like more than people even know. So it's hard, because then we get into this like identity crisis moment of, if I'm not making and contributing to this capitalist system, am I still an artist? Am I still doing my job, or whatever that means, which is such a meta, we could talk about that the entire podcast, but
Truly.
It's something that I think even speaking about is so good, like amongst artists, like amongst each other in community, because the more we can remind each other that, like, no, we need the rest, we need it, it's vital to our systems, to our art making, then we're just helping each other, So I think, like, even when it gets hard, even just saying that it's hard, like, whoa, I've been grinding for months, I need a break, just expressing that to someone else is so helpful. At least that's what I try to do.
Yeah, getting it out.
Yeah.
Putting it like as an elephant in the room, and like literally like saying it's here. This elephant is here.
Yeah.
That we all kind of live with as artists. And
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I just to jump a little bit into like what you've been working on, like you were just in Italy, travel as well. Like if you're working as an artist, but you literally don't have a home or somewhere that like grounds you, like that can be so disorienting at times. Like, did you find going to a new place and being with a different community of artists who maybe look at work differently and who maybe like reflect on processes differently, like did that seem like a place where you could thrive, or what did you miss the Western capitalistic white supremacist environment?
I mean, it's still European, so we still have, like, the systems are still in place, but I appreciate you asking this question, because there is a huge cultural difference there in terms of their relationship to time. And this is solely from my experience. I can't speak generally about this, but, even in rehearsal, like, there's more of a relaxed energy around, like, when we're showing up and when we, are rapping. And this doesn't have to do with the creative team or like the choreographers or anything. It's more so, like, I was noticing it in the dancers in the space, just how they operate. Like, it's just a little bit more relaxed. And that's not to say that they're lazy or anything, but there's definitely, I'm so used to this American, like, we get the call sheet, this is the time you're there, we're going to work for 8 hours, and that's that, like, there is this sense of rigidity within work here, or like the culture here, and that's just not the case over there. So I think it made me, I don't know, it's just something I noticed, and I was like, whoa, this is something that's really bred into my bones, because it would frustrate me when someone would be late, or things would take a long time, or the production is going through something, all those things really irked me. And I'm realizing, like, okay, I need to give some grace around this, and just notice, like, okay, I'm in this new space, and just see how that affects me and my body and how I operate, So it was definitely a learning moment for me, I would say, working over there. Yeah.
Besides like the different ways that people interacted with time, what else did you learn about like the process itself, like the creative side?
So, I mean, the project is a feature film, it's a movie, so there's a lot of moving parts, I would say. What's really nice about this production is that the choreographers, who are Rick and Jeff Kuperman, have a lot of say in terms of how the dance numbers in the movie are being shot, which is rare. Like sometimes they don't have that creative control, but in this case, the director and the DP, like there's so much trust around, you know, what this is going to look like. And so I think that's allowed them so much freedom in terms of how they're making, what they're seeing, what they're, you know, in terms of the shots and angles and all of that and how to tell the story. So I think that, like for me, being a dancer in the space, but being able to watch them work, I've just been able to see just all of these new facets of like what choreographing a movie looks like. You know, it's not necessarily about the virtuosity of the step. It's more so about, you know, how is this moment contributing to the story? You know, like what is this character trying to say in this moment? And I think just being a witness to that has been so cool and helpful for me, you know, just as a maker in general. So
that's so neat too, that like that the choreographers can have like creative control.
Yeah, it's been cool.
And make the movement, I think, from what you're saying, necessary and like not
absolutely
painted as I think some like movies that include movement can just sort of pop it in there as like a little side thought.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it does all come together in the end and the final edit. But it's exactly what you're saying. Like the movement feels so necessary to the story. You know, there were so many moments when we were kind of collaborating and we would contribute something and they're like, it's just too much, or like, it's not real, you know, and I just love that is in the space and it's such a priority for them. You know, I think it only makes the quality of the work that much better. And I think we'll see that when it eventually comes out in 5 years. Just kidding. Yeah.
2028.
Stay tuned, y'all.
Get ready. Mark your calendars.
Yeah.
But you are going back to Italy.
Yeah. In 2 days. Yeah, very soon. So we basically had a rehearsal period, which was, I think it was about 4 weeks. I came in a little bit late, so I was there for 3 weeks, just rehearsing the numbers, collaborating, making the thing. And then we had this little 2-week break, which is actually really nice because I was able to come home to New York. And then, yeah, we go back for 2 weeks of shooting. And it's pretty nice because it's a condensed schedule. They really made sure that all of the big dance numbers are being shot within this time, so we can all be pretty much wrapped and done before the holidays, which is great.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, movie. I mean, you've worked in film before. This isn't like completely new territory.
No. I've definitely like been on sets before. This is only my second feature film. The first one I did was also with the Kupermans. Shout out to them because they have given me some really great opportunity. But yeah, the other one I did with them back in January was also a feature film, more of a comedy. There are musical and dance numbers in it, but it's completely different than this vibe. So
cool.
Yeah, it's just nice to get a new experience. And I also am so privileged and grateful that I'm able to travel, that like something I love allows me to see the world. You know, last year I was like in Dubai, and then this year I'm in Italy. It's kind of insane to me. So I feel just really lucky. Yeah.
So neat. It's so neat to like globalize and you learn, like you said, like about different processes and different ways that people make art. I think I feel sometimes like very stuck in this like Toronto bubble of like, this is how we do things. And like, if you even question why we do it, you're wasting time.
Right.
And so I'm trying to do more traveling as much as I can, like just to reprogram like what my restrictions would be in my creative process.
Mm-hmm. And to just like get a frame of reference also. I feel like whenever I go somewhere new, it just allows me to reflect on, you know, my home life or my work life in New York versus overseas or wherever it is. You know, it just gives me more of a reference point, like, oh, okay, this is where I'm at here. Wasn't the case over there, but it kind of just gives you a bit more perspective, which is good and useful, you know.
Completely. Instead of being on that wheel, you jump off of it for a little bit and you're like, oh, it's a wheel that's beside me there.
Right. Right.
And you were telling me a little bit too about like working as a freelancer, and like that's been your main lifestyle, it's been your main schedule, but that might change. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, I think I am, you know, as I said before we started, but yeah, I'm kind of in this, I feel like I'm on the precipice of beginning a new chapter. Yeah, I booked a role in Sleep No More in New York, and it's,
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, audio. Wow.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I have been auditioning for the show since 2017, since I was still in school. So this feels like, the universe is now giving me this great opportunity. And, I moved to New York because I wanted to perform here and wanted to work here. And after years of freelancing and traveling, not to say I didn't love all of that, but I'm really looking forward to being able to plant my feet in the city, perform, dedicate myself to this one job for a year, at least a year, because that's how long the contract is, and then go from there. But it's like a whole new adventure that I feel I'm about to embark upon.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you
Thank you.
waited to tell me about this until now. Wow.
Yeah.
And because I know that you were also like working in the Lost Garden.
Yes.
Show that they did near Halloween, right?
Yeah. So the McKittrick Hotel, which is where Sleep No More happens, they put on these big parties, these big events for Halloween and New Year's. So this was their kind of Halloween party. So we had 3 shows over the Halloween weekend, and it's to give people the same kind of Sleep No More-esque experience. So there's each floor had kind of a different theme. The party goers get to just kind of roam free, and there are just these different scenes and snippets that happen throughout the night. So I was invited on board for that, which was kind of great because I got this little taste of what it is to be in the space and perform in the space. Yeah, I mean, it was a very different environment than when you go to see the show, just because people are drinking and it's a little bit wild and crazy.
Right.
But it still was really nice to have that experience before kind of like stepping into this full-time moment. So
it's a year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know like what tracks you're playing already, or is it kind of up in the air?
Yeah, so when you get hired, they basically give you the roles that you're doing, whether you're swing or whatnot. And there's 2 casts. So in one cast, I'm performing Lady Macbeth. Oh! And then in the other cast, I'm playing the nurse. I only know from what I've seen. I've seen the show many times. So I've had so many amazing, talented friends in the show. So I'm like so in love with the material and the work and just the people who have been in that space. So I feel really excited to bring myself and my own body, my own history and experiences into a place that is so rich,
so juicy, so energetic, like filled with like multiple dimensions all at the same time. And I feel like I was just in the audience, but I feel like also as a performer, like that experience is so adaptable to a point where it would feel like I'm watching a show and like a part of this observer performer relationship like constantly.
Exactly.
Which is like so fun. And not to say that proscenium and like very traditional ways of doing theater can also like evoke that same experience. But like when I was at Sleep No More this past summer, it like you leave feeling different just as an audience member. So I can't imagine what it would be like, taking on that track. That's so cool.
Yeah, thank you. It still feels a bit surreal, but I'm really looking forward to the challenge because I also know I'm going to learn so much within the first week, even just learning the tracks. And I think immersive work is its own genre, I mean, just dealing with an audience, the proximity, especially in that space, is something that's really particular to the show. So I'm excited to just feel that sense of presence and aliveness, like when performing. Yeah, I don't know when I'll start performing, but probably maybe February or March. We'll see.
Just in time for people to get out of their homes from the winter months and go see the show.
Exactly. Out of hibernation. Yeah.
And like, I mean, you're going to be incredible at it because you've been thinking about this show since 2017. You said like, seems like something that has been like top of mind. It is one of the best dance shows in the world.
Yeah.
And I can say that because it is.
I would agree. I think it's a really spectacular piece of theater. I was first drawn to it because a good friend of mine, Doug, was cast in it. And then he basically was like, do you want to audition? I said, absolutely. And this was again while I was still in school. And I think at the time, even the first 2 years I auditioned, I definitely thought that I was ready. And you go in and you're like, I could do this job. I'm qualified for this job.
That little bit of ego from school. Yeah.
Yeah, like a little bit was definitely in there, but I also, so I was disappointed when I wasn't cast because I would make it to the end of a call or whatever it was, and it just wasn't ever the right fit. And I think now that I'm being presented this opportunity where I'm at in my journey currently, I'm like, oh, okay, this is just timing. This is timing that I need to trust that, I wasn't ready then. And maybe I didn't know that, but they did, or whoever did. And now I feel like I can really go into this trusting what I can offer, trusting what I'm bringing into the space. And that feels really good. And also knowing that they believe that I can do it now, so that's really nice to feel.
Yep. The timing.
Yeah, exactly. The divine timing of it all.
I'm so, like, as your friend, I'm absolutely ecstatic, but
thank you.
I also just think that show is like so important for audiences who don't always see dance shows.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't regularly interact with dance, like, this is the place to do it because it's so human.
Absolutely. It's a really incredible experience on all fronts. I also will say I'm proud to be entering the show as who I am, like as a Black woman, because I feel like in theater spaces in general, I think we're still lacking diversity. And I feel really honored that I can, represent for those people who might have thought that they couldn't be in this show, because I just talked about how I've received no's from this job. And I think definitely there was a time when I was like, oh, it's me, it's my identity. Like, I don't fit in the space, whether it's my body type or my race, like I would tell these stories to myself. And I think I'm just feeling that not weight or, there's a little bit of responsibility, but I more so am just proud and honored that I can do this role, as Lady Macbeth and bring myself into it, whatever that means. That really excites me. So
I'm wondering if maybe we can transition into your work with Share the Movement.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of going off of the topic of those artists within the white supremacist capitalist system that don't always get the same opportunities as those who feed into the white supremacist capitalist system.
Mm-hmm.
And Share the Movement, that I was researching a little bit about it, aims to create an incredible and supportive multi-year dance journey for young BIPOC dancers.
Mm-hmm.
This work is starting like right from the start. If an artist is interested in working in this field, that's incredible.
We have a lot that we want to do as an organization. We, just to give a little bit of background, we developed the organization during COVID. We were all at our homes. A good friend of mine, Kate Harpootlian, who's the executive director of Share the Movement, she kind of brought her friends together to just start talking about, what is lacking in our industry. How can we support young BIPOC dancers? And it was just a full brainstorm moment that eventually led us to developing Share the Movement, like truly from the ground up. So it is still very new, but there's so much that we want to accomplish. One of the things being this kind of multi-year dance journey. Our dream is that we could really support someone from when they first decide to dance to end of high school, like developing that relationship, so it's not just a one-time kind of thing. We really care about nurturing relationships with young dancers that we're interacting with. And, not to say we're forcing them to become a professional dancer, but we just want to provide the access and resources that they could if they wanted to pursue this thing. And I think, a reason why I was so down to get on board in the beginning is because I would not be where I am today without the amount of people who contributed to my dance education. Like as a kid, studios are so expensive.
Ridiculously.
As like dance studio life, then going to a college in New York for dance, it all adds up. So I really am so grateful to the village that helped me get to where I am today. And I feel so happy that I can contribute in some way and give back through Share the Movement.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get into like the programming a little bit, like we've been able to offer summer scholarships to young BIPOC artists, over $20,000 in our first 2 years of operation, which is so incredible.
Wow.
We have just started a mentorship program. So we basically have a community of professional dancers who, are from LA, New York, everywhere, all spans of the industry. And they have been mentoring some of our, whether they're scholarship recipients or just dancers who are looking to be mentored. We have that program happening. And then we also are just trying to offer free class, to everyone, but specifically BIPOC dancers. And not even, I keep saying dancers, but even people who want to dance, people who don't identify as dancers, people who just want to move, just kind of opening that door to them to like see if that's something they're passionate about. So I was able to teach a class like in partnership with Grant Makers for Girls of Color. They had this kind of event in New York. And so we had this partnership. I taught a little movement moment, which was so fulfilling. So, I think we're trying to approach it from a lot of different ways. And I think we are, in our own way, making an impact. And I just look forward to the growth and evolution of the organization that I know will continue to happen. Yeah.
I mean, if it's already started to take off, like 20,000, like that's incredible that not only are there artists involved in like trying to keep it alive, but also like the communities around, obviously from that number, like want to give back and want to donate. And if you're listening right now and you have the financial means, there's a fundraiser going on until,
yes, there is.
I think it's like Boxing Day.
Yeah, we're just calling it a holiday fundraiser, just in the spirit of giving. So you can access it through our website, sharethemovementnow.org, or through our Instagram, which is at sharethemovementnow. It's very easy through that platform as well. But yeah, if you have anything to contribute, even just sharing the fundraiser is so helpful, because really, I mean, the only reason we're able to give out those scholarships and continue supporting these dancers is because of the community, because of people contributing. So
I'll link that fundraiser below. Share the movement, share the movement, literally. Yes. Share it. I love that title. I think that's an incredible work. Let's switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, you just choreographed with ProArte.
I did indeed.
How was that?
It was really wonderful. So ProArte Danza is a company in Toronto, for those who don't know. The way I got involved, basically Roberto, the director, had reached out to me a while back, it's probably last year, asking if I wanted to do kind of a week-long workshop or kind of just playtime, creation space with a couple of the company members. And I, who wouldn't jump at the opportunity for kind of this free, no pressure space to make something. So yeah, last April, we got in the studios, me, Carlene, and Connor, two dancers from the company.
Shout out to Carlene Zubelis.
Woo! Shout out.
And Connor Mitten.
Shout out. So talented. Yeah, so in the week, we ended up making around 10, 11 minutes of material. I loved what we made in that time. They were incredible collaborators, just so down to play. And I definitely thrive, as I think most artists thrive, in an environment where there isn't pressure, where you truly feel as though there are no mistakes, there's no standard I'm trying to adhere to. I really felt a lot of trust from Roberto and the dancers, which just made the ideal creation space, so
wonderful.
We had that week. And then I think a couple months later, sometime during the summer, Roberto just gave me a call, and he saw the duet and asked if I would be okay if they performed it in their fall season. And I said, absolutely. It was my first time presenting work in a professional realm in Toronto. I mean, I've been choreographing since I was a teenager in more so studio settings. But this was kind of my first time, having my name on something. I was really, just grateful for that. And so I went back to Toronto to kind of just give it a little refresh, just give them some notes. But really, and I think this is something that I love about kind of how not quick the process was, but kind of. I mean, I had the week, and then I kind of just came back to have a couple rehearsals with them before the shows. It still felt really alive and really present in their bodies. For me as an audience member, as the choreographer, I not once felt bored with it. Like I constantly was just like, ooh, there's so much more to dive into. Like in my mind, what they performed was just a first iteration. It was just this first version of something that could be larger. I don't know if it will be, but
right.
I think that rawness, that sense of like, ooh, anything could happen at any time, it's something that I was really excited about with this work. Something I also value as a maker is that it has that essence. So yeah, it was just incredible. I mean, I unfortunately couldn't see them do it during the season because I had to fly to Italy, but I was there to tech it and I was able to see it on stage, and it still moves me to this day, like emotionally. I'm the workshop week that we had in April was very soon after my stepdad passed away. So I was in this real place of grief and
I see.
mourning, and I just felt his spirit was so present with me. So I knew that I didn't want the duet to be romantic. I knew it wanted to explore this theme of memory, and like whether it's, the sensation of someone's palm or a smell of something, because I had all these remnants of Dave, of my stepdad, and they were so like, they were just with me in the space. So I feel like
Right.
that definitely contributed to what it ended up being thematically. And I think that's also why it resonated with people. Like people were so sweet in terms of the feedback I received afterwards. And yeah, there was just this kind of human, honest quality about it, which I also credit Connor and Carlene with because they performed it beautifully. But yeah, so it meant a lot to me. Hopefully, could give someone else an experience as well. So really happy about that process and experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine like how vulnerable and like malleable that process would have been to have, the grief
Mm-hmm.
right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I didn't get to see it as well. I'll be honest. I was through seeing a couple other shows that week, and I really wanted to see because Carlene and Connor like have such trust in each other, and I think
Mm-hmm.
their chemistry is like already so like present that the two of them have it.
Mm-hmm.
So to work with like those artists, I think would be, you could kind of go to that place of like, these are the emotions right here. These are the feelings of numbness right here. They're present in the room with us.
Yeah,
Let's go. Let's dive.
absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I think their chemistry is so palpable, like both as people and as artists. Yeah, I think what I loved, in the duet, there's a lot of, in my mind, there are different scenes. Like there's little vignettes, and each one is some version of a memory, whether it's how I remembered it or how someone else may remember it. And it's something that, I kept just reminding them. I'm like, what do you two connect to in this? What is this moment to you two? Because I'm not performing it. You are. So how does this, movement resonate with you when she touches your shoulder or whatever it is, and I think being able to, I guess, trust that they have these shared experiences like in their own lives, both together and individually, like all of that was so welcome in the space as well. And I think contributed to what we were able to make together. Yeah, they're just awesome. So I'm a fangirl of those two.
Big fan, big fan.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's something so great about watching a duet. Like
Mm.
whenever I can see two people on stage who are present with each other, but also allowing the audience to see that relationship and like see it for its ups and downs, like that is so, it's wonderful to be in the audience of that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I really wanted to see it. I really did. And I know that there were other works of the program too that were like very kind of out of the box for ProArte's usual mix. So
Mm-hmm.
I was really excited to see that lineup and to see your name on the choreographer list, because I as a person who, wants to see Toronto contemporary dance like take off into new paths and new avenues, I think ProArte is starting to do that, and that's super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Roberto definitely wants to continue this initiative of kind of offering these week long, I think he calls them choreo labs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think he really is prioritizing emerging. I don't really like the word emerging now that I'm saying it, because
Mm.
what does that mean? What does professional mean?
Mm.
But just providing space for makers to just do what they want to do, and I think that space is so valuable, so needed, especially when things cost money. It's like so hard to make anything, as you know. I mean, you produced, and it's so much work. So
It's so much.
I just don't take that for granted at all.
You're right. And like some artists do.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I think I don't know if it's intentionally that they forget about how precious and sacred it is, or perhaps maybe just the stress of like having to finish kind of takes over.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been in that place too, where I'm in a deadline and then my choreography, my producing, my process of trying to make something that's palatable to like a lot of people, it becomes something that I didn't intend it to be, maybe.
Yeah, no, I can completely relate. Yeah, it's just because all of those things are just distracting you from the core of what you want to make. It's like whether it's that time constraint or financial things, it's so hard. It's so hard to navigate, because then, and I know that you've seen a lot of dance too. And for me, when I feel like I'm able to see those those kind of constructs and like how they affect the work. I feel like I'm able to see when something was made with haste or without patience. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm sensitive to that, as I'm sure we all are, but it's just unfortunate, because how incredible would it be if we could make the art that we wanted to make with all of the resources that we need, but we're just not supported in that way, on a systemic level.
Oh my gosh, we could get into this.
Yeah.
We could absolutely get into this. I love like very bare bones theater or very bare bones dance. I think that it doesn't require too much to make something like interesting, entertaining, full of thematic nuance, but the resources sometimes aren't there. So like the show that you wanted in your dream world doesn't always get to be made. And yeah, how do we like move on from that, but also like question that, maybe this is a systematic problem about the way that we view live art.
Because it also, the lack of resources usually forces us to sacrifice.
Yes.
Whatever it is,
we're very good at adapting.
Idea, our dream, our vision. Yeah, we're so good at adapting, but we shouldn't have to be so good at adapting,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a constant struggle that we will be enduring probably forever. Not to be so dark.
I'm glad to do it with good friends.
Yeah, exactly. At least we're in community. It's honestly what has saved me in my low moments as a freelancer, someone who's been hustling. I think just knowing that other people are experiencing the same thing, and we can help each other whenever we want, it's like that really helps me. Just a reminder, like, okay, we're not alone in this. Because again, because of these systems in place, we're made to feel like we're just on our own journey. We got to just stick to our own path, when really no, like we can ask for help. We can reach out to our friends, our other fellow artists who are making things. We can collaborate, like there's ways in which we can resist those messages that say we have to be so individualistic about our art, because we don't, like, at all.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what makes it amazing. And I'm sure you can relate. Like my favorite experiences are because of the people, because of what we were able to co-create together,
right,
versus me just alone.
Absolutely. And this time of like disconnection and isolation, I think is important. Like it's important to have your own process as an individual creator, but like if I'm just worrying about myself all the time, my art suffers because I'm not engaging with the people around me, and they can engage with me, and then we can make it more layered, and like it becomes this like humongous exponential jump if we remember that community. Yeah. And just like putting that at the forefront of our creation is that we're doing this together. We probably won't have a lot of time
or money.
we don't have any, but I'd rather be doing it with others than alone.
Right.
Ew. Don't make art alone. Ew.
I know. I think about, like, I made a solo work last year and performed it a few times. And even when I'm making a solo, there's still so many other people involved, the people who are offering me the resources, the mentors, the outside eyes who like help you discover what the work really means, or, there's still other people involved, even when you are physically maybe performing something by yourself.
Yeah. The people who like the show, that's a huge thing. I feel like I've really recently, like, I don't know if it's when I produced a show, but I have been really prioritizing like a good relationship with my lighting designer, because like you got to be able to see what's going on. And even that process too is like so there's so many different parts to it. If the person who's designing it doesn't have all their resources, and me at the front of the group like having to make sure that they feel like they can do their best work as well, like it's so important to take care of the people who are making the thing, because it's all so precious, not just the work, but the relationships.
Yeah. And like every aspect is contributing to the larger thing. It's like we all have one common goal from all of these different technical aspects, choreographers, the lighting designers, set designers, whoever it is. We're all in the we're all going towards the same objective. So I think, yeah, all of the elements are supporting one another. And I think the more we remember that, it's like, oh, okay, then it also alleviates some pressure also on the choreographer side of things. Like I felt that with the ProArte piece, when I was teching it, when I was working with the lighting designer, I was like, ooh, this moment is actually so much more powerful now with this, whatever it is, in terms of the lighting. I just saw a show at the BAM Opera House in New York. It was Emmanuel Gott, who is the choreographer. The piece was called Love Train, I believe. And I was so, so, so moved by the lighting and set design. It was so incredible, where I was like, I could watch this opening idea of them. The dancers were literally just walking up stage, but because of all of the other elements, it was the most profound thing I've ever seen.
Wow. Yeah, that was the thing that stood out. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like that was the image. That was it. I was like, this is a show. Let's call it. Curtain closed. Like, I'm good. The dancing was phenomenal as well, but that's what really stuck with me. So I think exactly what you're saying, that every single role is equally as important when you're making something. That yeah, it's like we all have to just show up and do our part and contribute in the ways that we can.
People are precious, even though like sometimes it's a heightened sense of we're making something that's bigger than people. No, it's still the people that are at the forefront of it.
Agreed, 100%.
You mentioned a common goal, and I want to do a little pivot, and hopefully this is a smooth transition to the Common Ground Dance Festival.
I think that was an incredible pivot, Brie.
Thank you.
Come on, wordplay.
The Common Ground Dance Festival happened this October with Toes for Dance, David Norsworthy and Kristen Carconi, two people who we know very well. And you were acting as artistic associate, not just for that festival, but for Toes in general. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to see the festival. I saw like the beginnings of it, and then I had to go bury a family member. But
oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it is what it is. But tell me about that process.
Yeah, so I have been an artistic associate with Toes since 2019, just before the pandemic happened. And, the organization has been a part of my life since I was 12. Like from the first time I went to Fresh, I was a student, I was a participant, became a teacher's assistant, then a faculty member. So it felt really natural to take on this new role. And when I first took it on, I think all three of us, like me, David, and Kristen, were all curious about what the role could be. It wasn't really defined. It was more so just, okay, we can give you more responsibility and, some more agency with like curating programming. So I was, the three of us would meet, I think bi-weekly. So I did have say in terms of who we were hiring, like faculty members, who the artists would be to perform at Common Ground. And I just loved being a part of that and, just sharing my thoughts on like the organization level versus just teacher at Fresh, which has always been so fulfilling. But, it was kind of nice to step into this new space. So that's kind of been the past couple of years. And then now this year, I'm taking over as program director for Fresh.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so David has been running it for, 15 years since its inception, and he's ready to more so focus on the festival. So now I'm now directing Fresh, and I feel like just so honored. It feels like a homecoming. Like it just feels, that I have the skills that I need to take on this position. I'm really looking forward to, just kind of bringing in my own experience, both as a teacher and a performer. I'm excited to give opportunity to other artists in Toronto who I know have things to share, because like personally, I started teaching at Fresh, like David gave me my first teaching job when I was 16 years old. And I look back on that, so it's wild. I don't know what I was sharing when I was 16, but
it's so much. So many teenage year experiences.
Yeah. Exactly. But, he gave me that chance. And so I'm really excited to give that to others, specifically BIPOC educators who, haven't been given that platform in that space. So, yeah, I'm just excited to see. I think we're still going to just have the one event in Toronto in the summer. But the work has already begun. So we're starting with that. And I'm really, yeah, just excited for the next chapter of what the program could be. And also just, I want it to be aligned with our current dance landscape and, what's happening, what's current, not like TikTok current, but,
Right.
just in terms of what I think people need as students. There's so many lessons that I'm learning now at my age that I wish I knew when I was 12, especially in studio competitive dance settings. There's a lot of harm that can occur there. As you experienced it as well, like just growing up in that environment. So I'm excited to hopefully give young dancers, just more freedom and remind them that of their worth and that they can make mistakes, that it's not about perfection. All of these things that I was lucky enough to learn at Fresh as a kid. I think I'm just excited to continue that.
It's such a special place.
Cultivation.
Yeah, it's so full of like discoveries about, not just for me, it wasn't just about it being an artist, but also as a human and like how I interact with strangers. Because from that competitive studio environment, you're always with the same people. And then you go to a Fresh event and you're like, I don't know you, but like we can still connect and engage with each other and learn from each other and not have it be this, this like competitive, toxic, harmful situation. And like it truly, I think that's why I've come back every year to Fresh and to Toes, because I just need that. I need that in my life. And I know that it's super necessary for other artists as well. It's 10 years now that Toes has been going on, and it's only getting bigger, having you on as well. And I think like there's no stopping it now.
Oh, absolutely. We'll see kind of where the organization goes. I mean, like you said, I just credit so much of what I know about teaching dance, about leadership in dance spaces to those two.
Yes.
Like, honestly, from when I did my first kind of teacher training with them,
Same.
Just the lessons around how to really lead with compassion and care and like meet students where they're at versus telling them that they have to achieve this product or this thing. Like that philosophy, the toes for dance kind of philosophy has just given me so much, like more than I can even fathom. And I've been able to take that with me in all of my other teaching spaces. So just so much gratitude to them. And I'm like also excited to now have the agency to kind of put all those lessons into practice and make something new.
And the festival too is like also such an interesting new element that they've added, because I think it still is obviously an educational place and a place for learning, but now it feels a little bit more like, okay, we can take what we know and we can watch it be seen on stage. And like I'm thinking of like if I was a dancer who went to Fresh in the summer and then I come to the festival in October and I get to see like the teachers who taught me like perform, like just that cycle of here's what we worked on. It might be in the performance, might not, but at least I get to see it in action. I mean, it's lifting everything up off of its feet into a new realm. I just love that the festival is a part of the lineup as well, and that it's happening every year.
I mean, likewise. I think even in our second year, like this past October, the amount of growth, like we were able to offer so much more opportunity for artists to perform, from the workshop classes, the open rehearsals, the main stage program. It's already expanded so much in a year, and I think what I love is just the fact that we are bringing more dance to Toronto, specifically North York. And it's free, like free programming. Like, I think that is just incredible.
Truly.
To be able to see live dance for free. And the caliber too, because we're bringing in these incredible Toronto-based artists from all different kind of areas of the dance world as well. So I think that's what really gets me hype about the future, is like how much more access we can provide, and both for artists and for the community in Toronto.
That's so true. I had a lot of North York residents come up to me and asking me like, what is this? What's going on in the Lee Lifeson Art Park, this big, humongous park that has like so much artistic energy around it. And I could tell they weren't necessarily like dancers, or like they didn't really have the immediate response to be like, oh, this is dance. And so I was talking to them about what it is, and they thought, and from their expression, it seemed like they thought like this was not like possible or something like that. Like it was some kind of, the fact that it was free was odd to them. The fact that it was dance outside was odd to them. But I think like that in itself, that realization that like we have always been there. There's always been dance. There's always been movement for the community and in community spaces. But just knowing that like they can come and what's great too is that they can sit. They don't have to stay forever, but they can also pass by. You know, like it is just such like a revolving door. Yeah, and I think it's an incredible event for just that environment. That North York, very suburban. You know, like just off the subway, but like still not very accessible. But it, but it is so accessible, like you were saying.
Yeah, and it's just family friendly too, and yeah, I think that's what David and I were really proud of this year around was, like for one of the main stage programs, the audience sat down and then it started raining unexpectedly, as it does in Toronto. Started raining and we kind of had to make a decision on our feet, like should we cancel, should we, and we decided to just pause for 15 minutes because that's what the weather app said, that it would stop. And so we literally came on and announced to the audience like, hey, we're going to take a little pause. Feel free to go inside, get some coffee, because it's so close to the North York Center as well, and a coffee shop, whatnot. But we'll be back, in 15 minutes. And I'm not even kidding you. Like the audience came back and more. And we were just in awe that people wanted to support and wanted to be there and see dance. I don't know. It was just like really powerful. It's a moment that will stick with me for sure about this year's festival. So
you can't really have that same experience in a theater.
Exactly.
Right? Like that's what makes it so like memorable is that the choice to return after the nature elements.
After being outside in the rain and cold, because it was cold too.
It was cold.
It was cold, not gonna lie. So they were just such great audience members and troopers for sticking it out with us. But yeah, it was great. It was so successful.
I love that festival so much. Yeah, Toes is an incredible organization. I will continue to be a part of its community as much as I can.
And we are so happy to have you. Like you are such an integral part of it as well. And I hope you know that.
Thank you.
I also am going to make another plug because Toes for Dance, we have launched this, we call it the Brighton campaign.
Yes.
Which refers to like Brighton. It's a little play on words.
Yeah, we love play on words.
Because of the 10-year anniversary. So again, if you go to toesfordance.ca/donate, it'll take you to the campaign. And what's nice is that you can make a one-time donation, but you can also sign up for monthly recurring donations, whether it's literally $5 or whatever it is a month. All of that contributes to the larger picture and allows us to continue with all of this awesome programming. So if you have the funds or the means, and again, even just to share on social media is so helpful as well. But yeah, check it out.
Absolutely. I will also link that below. So much to give to this holiday season. It's great. But like worth it organizations and fundraising opportunities. And I wouldn't be plugging all of these things on my podcast if they weren't actually worth donating to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. What are you working on just as a human, and like how is it in your human life, not just your artist life?
That is a good question, Bree. I think in my human life, I am really just prioritizing my joy and what brings me joy. Yeah, I think that's the best way I can put it. I think I'm really just trying to be in community and spend time with my friends, people who inspire me, not even, yes, work related, obviously, but also just to continue showing up as myself in the world. And, they remind me that I have things to contribute, whatever that means. yeah, just spending time in my apartment, resting, as we've said.
Rest.
Yeah, I just think the more I rest, the more I'm able to do my art and do what I love to do. So I love sitting on the couch. I'm a huge advocate. I will also say, sorry, I need to acknowledge that I'm very privileged in being able to rest in the ways that I do. I would be remiss not to say that because, you know, some people can't take a day off work. And I think I'm very lucky to be able to do that. So I'm recognizing that not everyone has that ability to rest and to take days off. Yeah, but I'm able to in the ways that I can. I try to create boundaries around work. And like I said, even if it's not a full day, like taking the 5 minutes or whatever it is to just come back to myself, come back to my home,
Yes.
in whatever ways that I can, I think is really keeping me sane these days.
Such a valid point. And, you know, if you weren't scheduling time for rest, you know, and just continuing to work when you didn't have to, I mean, I feel like that's where we're like feeding into the systems, you know? So it like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a valid point to mention, yeah, like you said about privilege to be able to rest, but also like actually putting it in my schedule and like dedicating that time for me so that I am ready to be a working person and work when I need to, and then like not be such a zombie with the people around me.
Because yeah, as artists, like we're not machines.
Nah,
We're not,
I don't want to be a machine.
yeah, we're not these pieces that can be manipulated. We're people. And yeah, like I said earlier, like the rest is an act of resistance. And I think that's really powerful. It's a powerful reminder for myself and for anyone else listening to this little podcast. You know, it's just as important as anything else, just as productive as anything else, just as meaningful and worthy as anything else.
Completely. I completely agree. I'm trying to figure out where that lives for me
Mm-hmm.
because I still feel like you mentioned the word emerging earlier. Like I still do feel like I'm in the process of emerging fully. I haven't found my full form yet, but on the way to that, I still need to rest and I still need to make it a part of my schedule. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like the word emerging?
It's a longer thing, but I don't like it in relationship to the word professional because in my mind, professional, like who is setting that standard? What does that mean?
Oh,
You know, what makes someone professional? Are we talking about specifically in a Western dance context? Like if I'm in a concert dance company, am I now a professional? Like I don't believe that, you know,
right.
but a lot of people do. So I think there's just this comparison. Like if you're not at a certain quote unquote standard, then you're emerging still. You haven't made it or whatever that means. So I think, and this is something I'm just trying to reprogram in my own brain and practice is like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that distinction is necessary. I don't think anyone is less worthy because they don't have a certain position within the field or whatever it means, you know?
cool.
I think we're technically all emerging because we're all in our own process of like discovering what it is we want to do. Um, so
Humans.
yeah, exactly. We're all in process always. So I think that's just where my dislike comes from. I don't think it's the word in general. I think it's just how it's used in certain contexts. I think it's demeaning in certain ways, you know, when I'm like, no, you're not emerging. You are an artist and you're doing your art, you know. So
I see. It's almost like ageism. Like it almost kind of puts
exactly.
a real emphasis on who's youth and who's established and
Yeah, who's seasoned when really some of those seasoned folks aren't nailing it, you know, like
right.
they work from this archaic ideologies or whatever it is, you know.
No,
So
I know where you're coming from completely.
yeah.
And I'm now questioning like why do I need to put that as my title? I don't know. There's a weird gap that happened between graduation and now because of the pandemic, and I don't know if I'm still like settling into that feeling of like, well, I'm still graduating 2 years later. But yeah, that'll change, I'm sure. I hope.
Yeah, it's like it's such an ebb and flow. I mean, I think I'm sure you share the philosophy, but like I feel like I'm always a student. Like I'm all constantly learning. I don't think I'll ever get to a place where I'm like, cool, I've done it.
Right, yeah.
I've done the thing. Like I am a professional or whatever, you
Yeah,
know.
ew.
I just that feels so weird, you know, just
Yeah.
putting that kind of expectation and standard on it. we're all just on our own journeys. So I feel like, we can identify however we want to.
Oh, yeah.
Whether that is as an emerging or professional, I think we have that agency. And so it's really just up to the individual. Like, to me, I think, like, because of my visa, things like that, I'm like, oh, I'm a professional dancer. But really, I'm just an artist, just trying to do my thing every day.
Do your thing. You are an artist.
Thanks, Bree.
You're welcome. Where can people find your artist projects and things and connect with you as a human as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Connect as a human. I mean, the platform I use the most is probably Instagram at Chantelle_Good. It's where I post any upcoming projects or snippets of past work, classes, if I'm teaching, all of the above you can find there. And you can totally shoot me a DM if you would like to chat, collaborate, get coffee, whatever it is. Yeah, that's probably the best place to reach me.
As well, check out the fundraiser links, both of them, for Share the Movement and Toes.
Yes.
Anything else to say out to the void?
Happy holidays.
Happy 2023.
Happy holidays.
Thank you for rounding out this new year, this whole year, and being the last guest of 2022. I am so grateful for this time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, I feel so honored. So thank you for having me. Yeah, I am just such a fan of yours and this podcast and just what you are offering the world. So know that you are appreciated and loved and all the above.
Right back at you, friend. I hope to see you soon.
Likewise.
Good luck in Italy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the Artversations podcast. Please help the podcast community continue to grow by clicking subscribe or follow on your podcast platform and leave a review. As well, follow the podcast on Instagram at ArtversationsPod. You'll find photos of the guest you just heard, plus highlights and quotes from each episode. Let's keep the Artversation going. Send in a DM with your thoughts about art and any questions you might have for guests. Special thank you goes out to Jen Marquez and Maxim Bartnowski for their contributions. And thank you, listener. Till next time.